How's it going, everybody? And thanks for tuning in to episode 13 of Big Game Talk with Brad and Chris. I'm Brad. That's Chris over there. We got a big episode today, even though we're in the middle of a quarantine still. We're talking about the NFL draft. We're talking about the UFC card that may or may not happen in May. We got some other news down the bank about MLB and some sports hypotheticals, stuff like that.
And yeah, so if you, let's say you're a big UFC fan, not too interested in the NFL draft, in the description of the video we have, or on the podcast, we just have timestamps with all the different segments. So if you want to skip ahead, if you want to go back, you want to jump around this episode, pick out the sports content that you're interested in, by all means, head down the description and do that. Now let's get into it. First off, I just have something, I have a question. This is not a sports thing, but this has been burning a hole in my brain. And you're a big dog person, right?
Yes.
So you know how dogs, girl dogs do the squat, but male dogs do they lift a leg up when they taking a piss.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something they just instinctively know? Has that been handed down to them in the evolutionary process? Or is it something like a dog, when you're a little puppy, you're kind of you piss on your leg a couple times and you realize you got to lift the leg?
I'm going to say, first of all, I was not prepared for that question to start this podcast, but yeah, I would probably say it's just in them from birth that they know what to do.
They know what to do. See, that's crazy. That's crazy. Their instinct.
It's not as crazy as you bring that up as the first thing on a sports podcast.
Man, I've just been thinking about that all week.
That's that quarantine brain.
It's quarantine brain. We're going with squirrely times.
Yeah. Speaking of quarantine brain, how's your quarantine been so far?
Well, I mean, I just asked that question, so
yeah, so it's not going good for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm so lacking the motivation to do anything these days. I'm trying to, because I'm in school, trying to get my semester done.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I was supposed to have all my work done by yesterday, and it's just yesterday I was grinding along, and it was just oh my goodness, this is not happening. So this, hopefully today I finish off that work, and then once I'm there, then it's full-time grinding on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to that, but getting kind of stir crazy, not gonna lie.
Yeah. For me, I've been still going to work as normal, mm-hmm. and it's just stuff at work's a little bit different. But for the most part, I'm in a cubicle. So when you break it down, there's not much change for me other than the fact I get home and can't go out and do anything, something like that. So it's weird, but it's kind of almost for work is normal. So it makes it kind of a little bit easier.
Man, I just can't wait to go out to the bar. I've been missing that so much. That's gonna be so nice. Get all the boys together and just go out. People are gonna be, when this quarantine is over, people are gonna be losing their minds. People are gonna be I wouldn't be surprised if there's another baby boom after this.
Yeah. And too, if you, and speaking of the bars too, some of the parties that are going to happen once this is done, they're going to be all timers. I can't wait.
Yeah.
But that's people got to get their shit together so we can get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to be wild. But the US is talking about, they have now a stage one, we're in phase 1, there's a phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 in terms of getting stuff rolling again. They're kind of doing this in state.
But it's not work. But did you see what Jacksonville Beach did?
Yeah, they just opened up, right? They just
and then it filled up, and Florida is still really struggling with this.
Florida is I don't know. Florida was really late to the game. I think their governor a month ago did a press conference where he was wearing a gas mask as a joke, and he was this is not a big deal. And last week Florida shut down. Now they're reopening again. I don't who knows what Florida's doing, but I mean, if it wasn't for Florida being pretty lax, we probably wouldn't have had WWE WrestleMania 36. So
and two, the thing is, if WWE is an essential service, that really opens it up. And we're going to talk about UFC later in this episode, but that opens up for UFC to go there. Mm-hmm. And because they've already had tons of fights in Florida, I'm sure, so they're going to have a good kind of amicable relationship there. So that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. But before we get into we'll get into that in the UFC segment. Let's get into the NFL stuff.
Yeah,
so the NFL, first of all, it's obviously not going to be in person. It's a virtual draft.
Yeah.
What are they doing it on? Are they doing it on Zoom?
I think so. I don't know exactly. I believe it's on Zoom, and they're gonna have some sort of way that they can say the virtual pick.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm not too sure how they. I don't, and honestly too, with all the problems with Zoom, if you're the NFL, you might be a better idea to not release how you're going to do it yet.
Yeah.
Just tell the GMs and everything for security reasons. But they're
Dude.
going to be like, think about how many old like GMs and stuff there are in the NFL that probably don't understand technology, how much they're going to struggle.
But I
And
mean,
with the NFL draft, they got a time clock too, so they got to do it in a way where people can get like these old guys can get their stuff in.
Well,
time.
they're doing a mock draft. Like they're doing like a dress rehearsal for this, which is I'm kind of surprised about. Like I don't know if they're gonna have like just made up players in this mock draft.
You would have to,
because
you would just give away your draft strategy.
You're tipping people. So I don't know. Like they're just gonna do like each one go through just name like John Doe or
It's
like
gonna be Bo Callahan and Vontae Mack.
Yeah, it's like
if anybody's seen Draft Day, I don't know if you have. Have you seen that movie?
I've seen that movie. Yeah,
okay.
I didn't remember the names though.
Okay.
But that was a good movie. That was kind of like that was an interesting movie.
Very good.
Who is that? Kevin Costner?
Yeah. Kim Costner was in it. Yeah, and then wasn't it like Chadwick Boseman was the Vontae Mack character too, right? Yeah. P. Diddy was in that. Jennifer. Yeah, there's a lot of big name actors in that.
That was a big name. Like those were some big names. Anyways. It's virtual draft. Like it's gonna be weird. Like I imagine like there's somebody trying to hack it. There's gonna be multiple people trying to imagine if somebody like manages to pull off like hacking the NFL draft, like just like messes up, like basically monkey wrench in the whole thing. Like
honestly too, it's like teams might. Yeah. Because if you're a team, like, and if you can hear inside somebody's war room through Zoom, and like think about like this is $1 million decisions here. Yeah. If you realize like, oh hey, I don't need to trade up a few picks to get the guy I want because he's gonna fall, or holy shit, we gotta trade up. You know what I mean? Or like there's so many things that like it'd be beneficial for teams to do. And then of course like there's gonna be all these like bums in their parents' basement, like just hacking it for shits too.
Man, they better be on their game, because that's a great point. I mean, the like other teams, the espionage, especially. I mean, you got the Patriots there; those fucking cheaters.
The Patriots are gonna do nothing wrong. I guarantee that. One thing too is how's it gonna look on TV? Because the NFL is one of the best organizations for making their draft worthwhile to watch. Because like NHL makes theirs worthwhile to watch. I'm thinking like the MLB, like who watches the MLB draft, right? The NBA draft is actually really good too. They make it worthwhile. But if it's not good TV watching, like they need the views. Like they're not getting it from anywhere else right now. So they need views for this. So they got to figure out a way to make it worthwhile to tune into.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing with like you compare the NFL draft to other leagues, and with the exception of basketball, they have the leg up because people are actually interested in college football, right?
Yes.
That's the big thing. So like if people were interested in college and high school baseball, then like the MLB draft, they would put the money into making it a TV spectacle. But I mean, the interest isn't there, so why invest the money into making this a big TV spectacle? But the NFL, the ball's in their court to do that. And now, I mean, they're going to have to get creative with how they're going to be presenting this. Because, I mean, and here's the thing, too. Like, I mean, there's been so little sports news. Like, we're basically getting, like, just this slow drip of sports news. And now the NFL draft is really just opening up the floodgates and letting a ton of news out. That's gonna, I think, I think this is gonna be one of the more watched NFL drafts in recent history. Because of that,
we're gonna be tuned in for sure.
Of course, we're gonna be watching. Like, just people are gonna be so like there's nothing else to talk about. So all the social media attention, all of the from the mainstream press, all their attention is gonna be turned to this for the next couple of weeks. Like, it's gonna be big television, I think, and they got to do it right. I mean, the Zoom stuff, like, you like with Zoom, if they're using Zoom, like Zoom webinars, there's some creative things that you could do with it. We're doing our podcast on Zoom, and it's working out pretty well. But I mean, in terms of a big production like that, I don't know how they're going to be coordinating it all. And I mean, the question is, Like, who's gonna boo Roger Goodell?
Yeah, no, they were talking about that maybe his kids are going to come into the room and boo him when he's doing it from home. One thing too here, this will probably be one of the most bet NFL drafts as well, because there hasn't been anything to gamble on for sports. And if you're a sports book, you got to be coming on strong here, because they're like, I got an email from a sports book I haven't used for 3 years, and they sent me a thing, and a free up to $49 bet on a UFC 3 sim fight between Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade. Like, they're giving away $49 to bet on a UFC 3 sim fight. Like, they are struggling right now. So if you're a sports book, this is like, because you've always been able to bet it, but now they got to bring in everything to bet.
Yeah, you got to have a lot of props, like. And that like, it'll be interesting. Maybe we do a segment later in the week on just maybe not like even picks, but just interesting bets. Like,
maybe like Wednesday night before we go on, I'll place a few. Yeah, let us know in the comments if you guys want that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And now, do you want to get into the draft order?
Yeah, let's get into that.
All right, let me pull it up here. We're not loading so well here.
Loading so well.
But we know the first pick is, okay, here we go. So the first pick is the Cincinnati Bengals. The second, and we'll get into some of who we think is going to pick who in a little bit here. But the first pick's the Bengals. Second's the Redskins. Third's the Lions. Fourth is your New York Giants. Fifth is the Miami Dolphins. Sixth is the Los Angeles Chargers. It'll be really interesting to see what they do at number 6 here. 7 is Carolina Panthers. 8 is Arizona Cardinals. 9 is Jacksonville Jaguars. 10 is Cleveland Browns. Do you want me to keep going, or are we good for just top 10?
No, we're good for top 10.
All right. So it's gonna be really interesting to see some of these picks. Like, for me, like, do you want to just give who we think is gonna go in the top 5? So like,
let's do.
Nobody's tuned into this podcast to see some like who we think you should pick, but like, there's the top 5. Like, everybody's interested about the top 5. So in my opinion, I think Joe Burrow to the Bengals at number 1. I think you have to. I don't think he's the best player in the draft.
No, I think really, like, his championship games with LSU really kind of elevates him to a higher, because there was just so much hype around him. You know, that makes him a little bit like, he's great, but he's been made to be a little bit more than I think he is on an average day, because of just how he showed up in those.
Well, he had the best possible season he could have had. Going into this year, he was ranked to go maybe in the 3rd, 4th round, and now he's the number 1 pick. And he had an amazing season. We can't Heisman, right? But like, I don't think he's the best player, and that's not a knock on Joe Burrow. He's probably top 2 or whatever, but he is the best quarterback. Yeah. And if you're the Bengals, you need a quarterback. Andy Dalton's not doing it, and you commit. Like, if you're the GM, you don't pick Joe Burrow here, it's career suicide. You can't be the guy that passed on Joe Burrow, because if he flops, it's kind of understandable. There's been tons of QBs that flop, but if he turns into a stud franchise QB for another franchise for 15 years and you passed on him, you can't do that.
That's gonna haunt you the rest of your life.
So I think it's that's a pretty chalk pick. The Bengals take Burrow number 1, and the same with number 2, with the Washington Redskins with Chase Young. I think that's a pretty safe pick, because the Redskins, you could say they might need a QB, but at number 2, like, you might be reaching for the Tua or Herbert, and Chase Young is like just a pure athlete and football player, the best player in the draft in many people's opinions, and mine as well. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah, so it's one where I don't think the Redskins can pass on him. I could see, like, I just can't, and to trade down and try and pick him up and let somebody come up for a QB, if that's possible. But I think if you're the Redskins, you got to just take him and then hope that Haskins comes on strong next year. Now, number 3 is where things get a little bit interesting. You got the Detroit Lions there. I think in this pick, it's either going to be Isaiah Simmons from Clemson, linebacker, or Jeffrey Okudua, who's a corner. And I think it's probably going to be Okudua. You look at the Lions, they just let go of Darius Slay, or I believe his name's Darius Slay, who was good. So makes a big hole there. You have Matt Patricia's the coach, who comes from the Belichick coaching tree, who very much Bill Belichick builds from the cornerbacks back in. Like, he's not shy to pay some of his outside cornerbacks. The Patriots have like Stephon Gilmore, the McCourties, stuff like that. So I think they pick Okudua here, but it wouldn't shock me if they went with Isaiah Simmons because he's a stud as well. And Matt Patricia really is a defensive-minded guy, so it makes sense for him to pick defense here. And they don't need the QB because they still have Stafford.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's good.
And then number 4, your New York Giants. Where do you think they go here?
Now, I think that there's 2 routes, or there's really 3 routes that the Giants can take. One, which is looking kind of more likely every day. Dave Gettleman, their GM, he's been talking like if people are wanting to trade back, like to trade us to move up in the draft, we'd be willing to trade back. And
yes, I think that's a very interesting point because you're looking at like the who is it going to be, the Dolphins and the Chargers. If they're looking for Tua or Herbert, they're high on one of them, and they want to, especially if the Chargers want to jump the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, and also, I mean, there's a few teams that could do it. Those 2, the Panthers maybe, who need a QB, or
no, the Panthers don't need it. They that's right. They just signed Bridgewater.
Right. I totally forgot they signed. But the Bucks, who have Brady, they're only having Brady for 2 years. Maybe you want a quarterback, a nice young star player to move in behind Brady, and to learn under him. You trade with the Bucks for somebody. Give the Bucks the 4th round pick. The Bucks are at 14 right now. That would be a huge move up for the Buccaneers and a huge like trade piece for the Giants.
I think if you're the Giants, though, you before you look to the Bucks, like I think you're gonna want to like the Chargers at number 6. If you can trade back from 4 to 6 and get some other assets, and you're likely going to get the same guy that you were targeting at number 4.
That's true, because also, like, let's say the Giants don't trade back, their target is basically Isaiah Simmons, the defenseman, like that's their number 1 pick probably. But okay. I mean, he may go to the Lions, though. I mean, Okudua Duda or whatever. He's likely going to go. But if the Lions don't go with that and go with Simmons, then the Giants are in a position where they take O-lineman Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills, Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton, like any of those guys, like those 4 kind of big offensive linemen in the draft. Like the Giants need, like they're notoriously bad in their O-line for years now. So to pick up a guy there, there's a lot of really good ones in this draft. So I mean, if you move back, like if you're in a position where you move from like a 4th round to a 7th round pick, or
4th overall to the 7th overall,
7th overall pick, you're in a position to still get one of those O-linemen.
Yeah, I mean, good for you for getting through those names, because those are some tough names.
Those are some tough names. I mean, these football player names are getting weirder and weirder every single draft, it feels like.
Yeah, but I feel like the Giants, I think they have to, even if Isaiah Simmons, even if they're high on him, they have to take O-line here. Daniel Jones is now your franchise QB. You got to protect him. So I think like that's the thing. There's the kind of the 3 or 4 big offensive linemen in this draft. So if you're really high on a couple of them, you can fall back. It's worth it to pick up assets, because if you're the Giants, you need all the assets you can get right now.
Yeah, that's definitely it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see them kind of either like, I mean, who knows who they get trading back. That could be really exciting. And then also, I mean, you could you could trade back and still get one of those top 4 O-linemen very easily. And I think that is the number 1 strat. I think Isaiah Simmons, I think he's good. I'm not as keen. Like, I don't really care as much about them getting him if they get him nice. But I'd rather see them trade back and go for one of those O-linemen, because there's definitely going to be at least one of them hanging around in the early rounds.
For sure.
More likely that they're all hanging around in those early rounds. Like, who knows?
Yeah. And then at number 5, I think we can talk about number 5 and number 6. You get the Dolphins at 5, you got the Chargers at 6. I think these picks, if they don't move, which is, I think we'll talk about, like we've kind of talked about, we'll talk about some more, but like there's likely for either the Dolphins or the Chargers to jump up. But if they stay put at 5 and 6, I think Tua Tagliova and Justin Herbert go 5 and 6, whatever order you want. And if whoever the Dolphins pick, the Chargers end up with the other one. And then the thing is, like, the question is who goes first, Tua or Herbert? You asked this question last year. Everybody's going to say Tua, but with the injury history, and the Dolphins wouldn't have been able to, like, their doctors wouldn't have been able to see Tua because of all this coronavirus thing. So I think the smart pick here is to go with Herbert. Tua might have the better upside, but Herbert's going to, like, that Herbert is going to be able to play for you. right? Because and also the Chargers, they have Tyrod Taylor in, so they're going to be more okay picking a Tua because they know that he doesn't have to play next year. With
Yeah.
Dolphins, they need to stick somebody in. So you take Herbert, who a lot of people are down on him for his leadership and stuff like that. I think that is like they're like Eli Manning, Joe Flacco, some of those guys, they're not the greatest leaders either. They're still good quarterbacks. Like your quarterback does not have to be your leader. It's bonus, like it's great if he is, but he's like there's articles read that he's grown into this role, and the people are kind of just unfairly saying this about him.
And also, like, why would you have the rookie, even though he's the quarterback, why do you expect the rookie to just walk into a situation full, like a locker room full of veterans, and be like, I am the leader? Like that has always baffled me about football. I get you're calling the plays, you're the guy that makes it happen, but still, I mean, anybody in that, like on that offense, anybody on that defense can be a leader. And when you're drafting a QB, yeah, like you want a guy that as a senior in college, like was really good in the locker room. Yeah, that's a bonus, but it's something that you can build. Like you get the veteran leader, like the guy who naturally just kind of comes out as the leader in the locker room, has already established his presence. Take that quarterback under his wing, make him one of his lieutenants, but definitely not make him be the commander right off the bat. And that's how you develop these guys. Like the whole leadership thing, like when you're drafting a QB and saying like, oh, he has it's just always baffled me. Cause like, why would I, as a 32-year-old, like guy that's been on the team for 8 seasons, want to just listen to this guy that just comes in like, and as a rookie and is now like calling all the shots and running the team. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And I completely agree. And some other things about Herbert too is like he's going to be able to step into the role of play next year as well. Like he was all academic, so he's a smart guy. He's going to be able to pick the playbook up quick. Rose Bowl MVP, like that's no small feat. So he's going to be able to step in. And with Tua, I think if Tua's healthy, you probably take him over Herbert. But the big question is like, is Tua going to be healthy? And with all this coronavirus stuff, you just like the doctors can't see him to be able to evaluate. And of course, he's going to come out and say he feels the greatest he's ever felt in his entire life because he wants the higher he gets picked, the more money he gets. Of course, he's going to say that. And he probably, and in all fairness to him, he probably feels good. But who knows until he really steps on the field?
Yeah, feeling good in the offseason is very different to when you show up and you start moving around in preseason, right? So,
and that's another thing too, where it's a debate for another day, but that's another thing where it's like pay these college kids. Somebody like Tua, if he was able to come out 2 years ago, like he's making millions, and now people are doubting him, and he's dropping in the draft because of his injury. So it's sad to see. And kids probably Alabama's probably paying him, but like under the table. But obviously, like they should just be able to pay him.
Yeah, no, I agree there. These guys are bringing in so much money for the NCAA, so much money for the schools.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you're getting scholarships, which is big money when you get down to it. But at the same time, like compared to the money they're bringing in, it's unprecedented. So yeah, I think these guys, and just look at the attention, the like that the draft gets. It just goes to show how much like our eyes are on these guys, these kids, and where the eyes are, the money is, and the money's not getting to them. So definitely they need to be paid, because especially like you said with Tua, like, I mean, he could have been drafted 2 years ago, but he has to pay his dues in a system where he's not getting paid and he's getting hurt, and it's just like, it's a real shame.
You look at somebody like Trevor. Imagine Trevor Lawrence goes out this year and gets injured. Like, I mean, if he comes out right now, likely he goes over Joe Burrow as number one. Likely if he went out 2 years, like after his first year at Clemson, he'd go number one. Yeah. So and people are sitting there saying like, oh, he should sit out. Now, I don't agree with that, but at the same time, like if he did say, hey, I'm going to sit out this year, you could understand it, because he's got to take care of his family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's a tough situation. I think at some point in maybe not the near future, but give it 10 years or so, I think like slowly they're going to start being paid. And I think that's the right way.
And the thing is, like, think about it. Like, if you make it, it's potential for millions. If you don't make it, absolutely nothing. There's no fallback to putting everything into becoming an NFL player. I like, and especially now that there's no XFL, unless somebody goes in and buys the XFL, and gets it going again. Like, there's just no, like, there's the risk that these guys are taking, putting their lives into football is huge. And you have people like bills you got to pay. You got family that need, like, family members. You got loved ones. All this stuff that you're trying to support. And these guys, they're looking, showing promise. They're going through, and then boom, an injury in your senior year, and it's all done.
Yeah. Speaking, Chris, speaking of bills that got to be paid, we got to tell you about our new sponsor.
Yeah, let's pay the bills.
So, Phoenix Fit is our new sponsor. We're sad to see On Point Pomade go, but Phoenix Fit, that's spelled FNX. So let me tell you a little bit about them. It's formulated by athletes for athletes. Their mission is to provide fuel for greatness. They're built for strength, engineered for endurance, and designed for recovery. Our supplements provide this necessary fuel to help you rise from the ashes. And then also, they have, every time you a purchase is made at their website, fnxfit.com, a child in need receives 1 gallon of clean water. To date, they've donated over 103,825 gallons of clean drinking water. So if you go to their website, you can check the link in our description to find that. Use promo code BGT15, BGT15, and you get 15% off any purchase. So it's not just your first purchase, any purchase. You can support a good cause. They got some good quality products. I got some stuff coming in the mail, so you'll start seeing that on the videos here soon. And they have protein, they have recovery supplements, they got like athletic wear. So anything you need there, you can check it out. And just make sure you use our promo code.
One of those things, like if you're someone that usually goes to the store to get your protein and your pre-workout and all that, and I mean, boom, stores are closed right now. You're looking for an online distributor. FNX is the way to go. You get our promo code 15% off. Never been a better time to try this online brand, because I mean, all the stores are closed right now. So what else? Where else are you gonna go? Yeah. That's the fact. So
check out the link in the description. If you have any questions about their products too, just hit us up or check out some of the stuff they got on their website, but we can have some more information for you as well.
All right. So, I mean, we talked about like this virtual draft and stuff going wrong and hackers and all that. Do you think a coach says something bad on the Zoom?
I think there is a 0% chance that we get through the entire first round of the draft without some coach saying something stupid on the Zoom.
Yeah, I think.
And whether that's something stupid is they swear, God forbid, please none of these old white guys say something racist, and also or just one of them just lets out their entire draft strategy.
I think that's the most like. I think somebody's like whole draft strategy is going to leak. Like there's going to be a hot mic in one of the war rooms. And I think, like, I don't see them doing, like, there's no way they, like, even with a dress rehearsal, I don't see a way that they pull this off without a hitch. I think this is going to go, like, I think there's going to be overall, I think it's going to be a good production quality, well done. It's going to be the best they could do. But at the same time, there's going to be some gaps in there for sure.
I think the strategy is you take somebody like an intern, like our age, you stick them in one room with like the designated Zoom or whatever for the draft, and then you have your entire war room in a different room, and you have somebody come in and say, pick this player, like that, and so there is nothing being leaked, like because it's like there's so much money on the line here. But I don't think it gets through the first round without somebody making a mistake.
Here's the play, right? You come up with like a fake draft strategy, like one designed to just throw people off, like so you like throw everybody off, like, and then you accidentally like throughout the night act like your mic is on or something like that, and you just leak shit. And you just like, and then you get people, maybe somebody trades up or trades back because of what you've done. And then you just come in with the complete opposite strategy. Like there's gotta be guys thinking about it.
No, I agree. Like if you're a team that's kind of later in the first round and you really want Tua, and just, hey, I heard Tua's, he's not fully recovered yet. He may never be the same. Start whispering that into the mic. The Chargers and Dolphins second guessing themselves.
Yeah.
But I like somebody's gonna screw up. It's just a matter of how big the screw up is, and hopefully kind of the like the what's the word for it, the competitive parity of the league and all that stuff, like the screw up isn't that big.
Yeah,
and everything goes smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for some shakeups in the drafts, like we talked about the Chargers and Dolphins, how they likely could trade up, or there kind of being some stuff around there. Is there any other teams that you target that you think could trade up or make some big moves?
I'm not off the top of my head. I don't think there's many shakeups. Like I think the biggest, and I may be biased as a Giants fan, but I think the biggest story in the first round is what the Giants do.
Yeah,
with their number 4 spot. I think that's going to be the big shakeup. Like who knows, Dave Gentleman, like just maybe trying to throw people off about who he wants, and maybe he has no intentions of trading, and he's going to go for Isaiah Simmons. Who knows? I hope that's not the case. I really want them to trade back. But we'll have to see. I'm just looking forward to some sports like related content happening live. That's going to be the big thing. Like I think this is I can't understate how huge this is going to be, how like how many eyes are going to be on this, how many people are going to be talking about it. I just can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and I think like for me too, like I think the Patriots every year they normally move back. I think you could see here, do they move back again, or do they potentially move up for a QB? You know what I mean? It's going to be interesting to see. I think like the shakeups, the big moves, it's going to be a lot harder this year. You can't walk across the draft floor and talk to a GM.
Yeah,
That's
a great point.
And with the time limits and everything, like it's going to be, I think you're going to see probably a record low trades. Now, it could be wrong, could be a record high because I said that, but in my opinion, I think you're going to see a lot less trades. Maybe none of the same as big a magnitude as normal at the draft.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. All right, is that all she wrote on the draft stuff? Let's move on to the UFC.
Yeah, sounds good with me.
All right, so UFC is keeping it. Dana White just keeps he's walking along and people try to knock him down. Like he puts up something and it's knocked down, and he keeps on walking, knocked down. Like this guy is just trucking along. UFC 249 is back on, ladies and gentlemen, or it's speculated to be back on. I don't know how set in stone this is, but what's the date for this?
What was it? I'm bringing it. It looks like May 9th, and
May 9th.
Now, let me just read out for you the card that is potential to happen, because this card is one of the best that I think we could see. Like in the last few years, you got headline Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, co-main Henry Cejudo, Dominic Cruz. So it's to go back, the Gaethje Ferguson was already established. That's for the interim lightweight championship. Cejudo, Dominic Cruz going to be for the bantamweight championship. Amanda Nunes, Felicia Spencer, women's featherweight. Francis Ngannou, I'm going to butcher his name here, Jairzinho Rosenstruck. That's essentially a number 1 contender for heavyweight. Jeremy Stevens, Calvin Kattar, banger of a fight. Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis. Now, got a question. Does that happen at welterweight or lightweight? I would prefer welterweight. Let those guys balloon up a little bit, and they're going to throw. That's a great fight.
Yeah, especially with less time, less notice. Like you're not doing a full camp. I think doing it at that higher weight would be very helpful to both of them.
Greg Hardy, Yorgan De Castro, Alexei Olenek, Fabricio Werdum, Carlos Esparza, Michelle Watterson, Jacare Souza, Uriah Hall, Vincent Luque versus Nico Price. That's a low-key could be fight of the night right there. Charles Rosa versus Bryce Mitchell.
And it keeps coming. It just keeps coming, man. I'm so excited for this. This is going to be like one of the all-time greatest UFC cards. Potentially.
If those fights all happen. Because I mean, there's got to be a few of those that don't end up happening. But I mean, that'd be an amazing card. Now, my question is, how likely is this to actually happen? Because we're recording this on April 18th. Today was supposed to be UFC 249.
Yeah.
And Disney and ESPN came and shut it down. Now, there's going to be not much that's changed for May 9th. Like that's a couple weeks away. So who's to say that things are going to be fine by then? And ESPN and Disney are going to change their mind. Who's to say that they're not going to come and tell Dana White, hey, shut this down too?
You know, and we talked about that on last week's show, like with Mickey Mouse coming in and shutting things down. And it was very likely that they continue, like the private island fights are allegedly still on, but Disney could come in very easily and take those out. I think two things really help the UFC. One, it's Florida designating WWE as essential, because that is like, I mean, the difference between UFC and WWE is one stage and one isn't, but put that aside, and they're two very similar products, and two very, like, the things necessary to put both together are very similar in nature. I think that really helps. That gives Dana White a sanctuary to do this and to say, Disney, look, you know, we have this is an essential service. This is legally okay. We have a commission behind this. We're doing all the procedures. Like, it just opens the door for Dana White to kind of come back at Disney and ESPN with a counter and basically say, this is, we got all our ducks in a row. And the second thing is I mean, the White House has been talking about, like, has been communicating directly with all of the commissioners, all the sports commissioners, with ways like sports to the White House is essential to getting the country back moving again. It's one of the key tenets. And they, like, so now Dana White has spoken to Trump. He, like, has been, like, on, like, they've been communicating. They've been talking about the safest ways to get UFC back going again. So he has kind of the federal government on his side in a way. They're making sure, this is another thing, just making sure all these ducks are in a row. And that makes me think that, you know, this could happen. But at the same time, you cannot underestimate the money power that ESPN and Disney have, and their PR wanting to play safe and not risk somebody getting sick because of an event. And then you got, so you got two things. You got, like, the power of just the law that's now swaying towards UFC 249 being a thing. And then you have the power of the mouse, Mickey Mouse, who you cannot underestimate the juggernaut that Mickey Mouse is. And what Mickey Mouse wants, Mickey Mouse gets. So I think this is really a toss-up to see who wins. You know,
what I think sways it too is, as much as, like, the Disney, as much as they love their good PR, they love their money more. And Dana White can easily say, look, if I'm able to put this card on when nothing else is on, we make it a pay-per-view. It's a pay-per-view, obviously.
Yeah.
And they've stated before, like, the UFC 249 card is going to be still at the $65 pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to sell. This is going to be, this has a chance to go top 5 pay-per-view buys.
Yeah.
In the company. And you go in top 5 pay-per-view guys without Conor McGregor being on the card, which does not happen. So you're looking at, you say to Disney, look, we're gonna go so much higher in ESPN Plus subscribers, because now that we have to do this, we're gonna sell. Like, we're gonna get so much money from this. Let us do it. It's established with the WWE doing it. So they're taking just as big a PR hit as us. So, like, let's do it. Let's roll the dice and let's do it and see what happens. And I as much as, like, I got mixed feelings about it, because, like, the safety wise, I don't think it's a smart idea. But there's that part of me that goes, I just want to see live sports. I just want to see it. So if they can do this safely, which is a big if, like, I'm down to see it.
I think so. I think, like, I mean, they're gonna have tests for everybody, whether or not the UFC should be the one getting the tests when there's other people that need it. That's a conversation for another day. But the fact is, they're going to have tests.
Yeah.
And I think because they have the tests, I think it's going to, like, they'll be able to do it pretty safely. As I think the biggest hurdle is just getting the mouse to agree and the law to agree.
Yeah.
But
100%.
anyways, we're gonna cut to a break, and we'll be right back with some more UFC talk.
Hey guys, just want to thank you again for watching or listening to our podcast here. Just want to let you guys know you can check us out on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about it. We're trying to grow, and it really helps us out. So we'd really appreciate it if you do, and thank you. And stay tuned for the rest of the episode.
All right, UFC 249, looking like a great card. I mean, the first 3 fights are tight or for belts. And then the 4th fight down from the main event, the Ngannou-Rozenstruik, that's for a number 1 contender spot. So this is just, like, one of the most unreal cards that UFC has ever seen. And, I mean, we were talking about how, like, with all the sports being put on hold, there's kind of a backlog. Everything gets piled up. And then when it finally comes back, it's just going to be all packed into these, like, short little bursts. And this is what we're seeing with this card.
It shocks me that they're able to get this many fighters on and still in the middle of the pandemic. And two, because this is a pending thing, it's very likely that some of these are going to fall through. But you're looking at like Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje kind of needs this fight. He's in a spot where he can jump in and get it. Almost the same with Dominic Cruz, even though he's held the title. But you look at Cejudo and Ferguson don't need this fight. Their spot is established, and they're risking a lot here. Right. And the same with Amanda Nunes. Like Felicia Spencer's in a spot where, and even her, she's the next in line. Like they can wait it out. So it shows me how much these fighters really just want to fight.
Yeah, that's a great point.
These are the big money fighters in the UFC. They're not that in a spot where they need the money. They just want to fight. Yeah. And that goes to show kind of the mentality of people in the UFC.
That's a great point. And I mean, for Justin Gaethje, I mean, you were supposed to, the original plan was for him to fight Tony Ferguson on short notice today. Now you kick it back a few weeks. You give him a little bit more time to have a full camp. Tony was already preparing for a fight this month. Gaethje wasn't. So I think this, like, Tony still is the favorite in that fight by a big margin. But at the same time, Gaethje, you got to be happy to have the extra time, and it's gonna equal a better fight in the end. So I think we really Disney pushing things back. If this still goes, if this card actually goes through, I think it was for the better, because like, holy crap, is this like one hell of a card?
And there's some like dark horse fights here, like Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis. Now that might, like, I'm a huge Cowboy Cerrone fan. I know you are too. And like, anytime you put him on a card, especially against somebody like Pettis, where they're gonna throw down, that just boosts the card up so much. Vincent Luque versus Nico Price. Those guys have just zero regard for their own safety and just go and throw. So putting people like that on just makes it so good. The only problem I really have with this card is the fact that Greg Hardy's on it. And like the UFC, I just don't understand why they keep pushing him. Nobody likes him for very obvious reasons, that if you are somehow unaware of those, just please Google the name Greg Hardy. Yeah. So like nobody likes him, and the UFC just keeps pushing him so hard it makes no sense.
Yeah, and it's just like his record is pretty average, so it's not like he's an incredible fighter to keep around. It's not like he's a big name, but not for in a good way. I don't like, anytime I see him out there, I just cringe a little bit. It's just not worth watching him. Like, no one's going to be cheering for him. Like, it's not like he could play a heel like Covington does, because he's just too much of it. He does the heel too well. For anyone to be a guy that you love to hate, he's just a guy you just straight up hate, and you just hate hating him because you hate seeing him. I think
in the UFC too, it's like if they put him out there against like Derek Lewis, and they set it up where Greg Hardy is going to be face down in a puddle of his own blood, knocked out. That's one thing, but they keep sticking him up against guys that aren't really like Yorgano de Castro. I mean, he's got some knockout power, but likely Hardy's going to walk into this the favorite in the fight. Put him up against somebody where we're going to see him get just knocked out. And then that's something where it's like, okay, now I want to see this because he's gonna be knocked out, but they just refuse to do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you gotta there's an unfairness to just giving him a real tough fight. But I mean, if you're Greg Hardy, you deserve to get your ass kicked.
Well, he doesn't deserve to be earning a paycheck in the UFC. So at minimum, if he's going to, I want to see him get knocked out.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there.
Now, like, where do you think this fight card happens?
That's
if it does happen.
I mean, the private island is a candidate, though. I think that's like, there's a lot that needs to happen in order to get a private island fight ready to go. Like, that needs to be in the works. Like building a building for it, all that stuff. Getting an octagon out there. Another likely candidate now is Florida. I mean, if like, now that the WWE has gotten the approval that they are an essential service, Dana White just has to go to the governor of Florida and say, hey, you said this for WWE, were a very similar thing. Like, it'd be foolish of you to say that UFC is not fall into that category. And then once you get that approval, find a place in Florida. You could do it in a small, like in a warehouse, in Florida. Like, once you get the governor on your side and everything falls into place with the Florida State Athletic Commission, which are going to toe the line of what if the governor says we're essential, the fight commission is going to be in on it. I think Florida is the most likely, I'd imagine.
You know where I think you talk about Florida there, and Disney, you got a problem with this? Here, student Disney World, you control it, Disney.
That would be unreal. That'd be unreal.
Disney then Disney gets control, and it's on their property, right? And it's in Florida, and so it's established that Florida is probably going to allow this. So I think that's best case. Like, I think that works.
And I mean, it's a little bit of press for Disney in a time where, I mean, they're losing billions probably on not having Disneyland open right now.
Yeah.
It'd be something happening in the mouse realm.
It gives your fighters, you got a lot of space to spread your fighters out, as well as give them great amenities too. And you're not giving them second class. So I think that's a good scenario.
Yeah, if you're trying to kind of really convince these big name fighters that it's worth coming, a nice chance to go to Disneyland,
Yeah, open up Splash Mountain for the day for them.
Yeah, just Henry Cejudo loves the water parks. That.
You know he does. Yeah. That'd be cool. Now, I got something else too, and I was thinking about this. So we talked last week about how the XFL is essentially done. Now, it's came out that Vince McMahon is selling the XFL. Now, if you tell me that Vince McMahon can't take a football league and make it a success, who do I want to buy it and make it a success? So somebody that's already talked about buying a football team. I want Dana White and the Fertitta brothers to come in and pick up the XFL.
That would be unreal.
Tell me that they can't make a success out of it.
I think
when they bought the UFC was on its way out, and now it's $1 billion franchise.
Yeah, I think the XFL. I mean, they have the foundation is there. I think Vince McMahon and Oliver Luck did a fantastic job of laying the foundation. The rules they made, excellent.
Great.
And what they need, I think, is a little bit more in terms of storyline, in terms of like what is really happening behind the scenes. I think Dana White is really like, I mean, I'm disappointed Vince McMahon couldn't have made this happen, but like I wanted more, like with all the interviews and stuff like that, like the on the field interviews and all the access we get to the players. I wanted a little bit more intrigue. I wanted a little bit more controversy, which, I mean, like you can't expect a guy to be trash talking people. Like, it's a bad look, but at the same time, it's part of what sells like clicks. Yeah. And I think that was the big appeal of the access. And I think Dana White is a guy that could come in and make it a little bit more rough around the edges in terms of the way the media interacts with the players.
Yeah. And like you look at they were probably growing into that, and it got cut short because of this coronavirus. And you look at that, if Dana White and the Fertitta brothers, Dana White's already going to have a great, business relationship with ESPN. So they're going to go through ESPN. Hell, add them to ESPN Plus. Add that XFL to that subscription service. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would work. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I cannot see it happen. But that is, I think that's best case scenario. That would be amazing to see.
That'd be unreal. That would be so sick. And I think the thing is, like, imagine having like Dana White, the best commissioner in sports by a long shot, as the commissioner of the XFL, just trashing on Roger Goodell, the worst commissioner in all of sports.
That'd be so good. And imagine too, like, he'd trash on the players in the XFL too if they weren't playing up to his standard.
Yeah.
Like, he'd have no problem doing that either.
Yeah. So it'd be very, and the thing is too, it's a very similar league in terms of the fact that the commissioner, like, so the way the hierarchy works in the XFL is the league owns all the teams, whereas in like NFL, NBA, the like the owners are all scattered, like the owners own the teams and it's all scattered and decentralized. But the UFC, I mean, Dana White oversees the entire league. He's the one kind of like, and you're kind of fostering competition between people that are all under one umbrella. So I think that would translate really well into Dana White going into the XFL. He knows how to divide talent. He knows how to make good matchups. He knows how to create a good storyline. All these things can really move together to prove success in a football league like the XFL.
You stick the XFL logo on the UFC canvas too, in the bottom ticker on the videos too. Mm-hmm. Like you're gonna sell tickets. People are gonna tune in.
Yeah, you can't underestimate the marketing power that the UFC has now. You got your bottle of Proper 12 over there, just to prove the point.
Yeah, they'll throw Proper 12 on the field for the XFL games too.
Throw a big ass Proper 12 logo on the field.
I think that'd be super cool. Like I said, I don't think it's gonna happen, but like we can dream.
Yeah, we can dream.
Quarantine,
you know. Uncle Dana, make it happen.
And now another topic too that I feel like we're a little late to get to this, but better late than never is how do you feel about now the MLB ads on the jerseys? And now it's just like right now it's the Nike logo, right? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean the Nike logo is just too weird. I mean I'm so used to Mizuno, just being the real like the brand for so long. For as long as I can remember, Mizuno was the brand.
Was it Mizuno? I like Mizuno products. Like
it was Mizuno.
I use that like only Mizuno stuff for my equipment for baseball as a catcher. I didn't even know that they did the jerseys. And
they did all the jerseys.
They really didn't do a good job of branding.
Well, I mean that's the thing. The nice thing was you never knew it. That's the real nice thing. You never knew it. So because they didn't stick the logo right there. Yeah. Now it's like it's just weird. I don't associate Nike with baseball at all. It's so much more a basketball brand. So it just feels weird seeing the Nike logo. Like, I mean, it's a non-intrusive logo. It's pretty minimalistic. So it's not like it's taking up too much space or drawing too much attention, but at the same time, it just like, it feels weird. Like, there's something like it feels cheaper, like for some reason. Because it feels like they just bought like generic jerseys and then put the logos on. It still had the old Nike logo on it.
Yeah.
I think that's really, and I mean, it's just the way the game's going. It's just the way things are going. It's a situation where, I mean, because the NBA has the ads, right? Like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, putting this logo on to me is just taking another step towards putting actual ads on.
Yeah, and we're getting very close to that. I mean, like, ideally, we'll never be like soccer where the teams are pretty much like there's no team logo on. It's just all ads. Like, that's another reason why soccer is one of the worst sports, or is the worst sport out there. But I mean, the ads on the MLB jerseys, it's too cheap looking. It's too cheap. And I know the thing is, like, in a situation where, like, right now, all the owners are complaining to the MLB and saying, if we can't have fans in attendance, this season's not going to work for us. Like, we're going to be losing like more money in holding these games without fans in attendance than we were if we just didn't have games at all this year. So maybe like it's like now
the logo on the jersey to satisfy them.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe it's a little bit too late to be making those decisions. But I mean, if you're in a situation where you can kind of press a button and make that change, it's something you kind of give to the owners in order to kind of get them to convince them to do this season. I wonder how, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, and you're the accountant, so you would be able to kind of do the math on this a little bit better than me, but grand scheme of things, you think about like television, right? Or television, like money. You think about attendance, like, so filling the stadium.
Yeah.
All the advertisements, like the sponsored by Budweiser, all of that stuff, like all the things that are making the owners money. You add in ads on the jerseys. How much does that really drop into? Like, is it just a drop in the bucket, you think, or is it actually something pretty significant?
I think like the ads on the jerseys, I think would be significant because they're going to be a significant price for that. too. Like that's what's kind of coming. Like for the NBA, when the NBA did it, I'm sure that they came in at a hefty cost. So I think it would come in significant. But the thing is with the MLB, like for our favorite teams, like you can be guaranteed that the Blue Jays are going to have Rogers on the jersey. The Mets are going to have it's City, right?
Yeah,
City Finance.
Bank.
They're going to have them. So it really like that doesn't even give them that because everybody knows like Citi Field, Rogers Center.
Yeah.
Like how much extra are you getting by putting them on the jersey?
Yeah, you know,
and unless you get a different sponsor, because I was going to say like who would be like who like if you could pick the sponsor for it aside from Big Game Talk, who are you going to put on the Mets jersey?
I think like any beer brand, I wouldn't mind seeing the beer
cool.
logo. Like that would be pretty awesome. Like see like Budweiser there or so, like Bud Light, something like that. That would be that like I wouldn't mind that. Like if it had to be anything, I'd want it to be a beer. But you're right. Like I mean, for the Mets, like Citi Field, like the City logo is in like the Citibank logo is in the kind of like big sign, right? Like for this, and at this point, to me, the Citi Field logo or the Citibank logo has just become synonymous with another logo for the Mets, essentially. Yeah. So putting it there wouldn't be that intrusive. I mean, Rogers owns the Blue Jays. So, I mean, it's like people are used to hearing Rogers, Blue Jays, blah, yada, yada. So I think for those two teams, it wouldn't be too intrusive. Like, I think that the same can be said for almost every team that has its stadium, like a sponsored name for its stadium.
Which essentially now is almost every stadium.
Yeah, really. Like, it's crazy how many people – and it's a shame, really, because some of the best stadiums are the ones with just names, you know. But that's just the way things are going.
And some of those, like the iconic names, like when it used to be just the Sky Dome. Look at the old Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
Wait, Shea wasn't a brand, was it?
No, William Shea was the founder of the Mets.
Okay. So like some of those are Yankee Stadium. Like some of those are like iconic names, but it's just the way things are going now.
Yeah.
With the brands, is you gotta pay the bills.
Yeah, you gotta pay the bills, and especially, I mean, in this situation where we're not gonna have fans, that is like, I mean, the ads could happen. But it's weird. Like, it's weird to see I mean, to think about soccer for a second, just as somebody like they were ahead of the game when it came to ads on the jerseys. Like, I mean, they just have they won't have their team name. Like, I thought for a long time the soccer teams were just named like the Toronto BMO or whatever. I don't know.
It's just half the teams have Xbox on them.
Yeah, it's just it's just like these big fat logos. It's kind of wild to think about all the sponsorship that ends up on the jersey, and it's like your kind of crest of your football club just is just this little tiny thing on the breast, like where their team logo is. That's where any other any other league that has advertisements on their jerseys, that's where they put the advertisement.
Yep.
You know, like on the basketball jerseys, it's just this little thing right here. On soccer, that's where your logo goes. The rest is just all advertisement.
Yeah, it makes it look really cheap. It's the same when you watch any European hockey league where they just covered in ads. It makes it look really cheap.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least.
One thing and now this is an old debate that we've had, not on this program, but we've had this quite a bit. And it's the whole idea of the Reebok UFC deal, where it's basically Reebok came in sponsored so that they don't have ads on their shorts or anything like that. It's just all Reebok merchandise. And you compare that to a league like Bellator or really any other MMA league. Yeah. And I don't know. I like it in MMA. I like the grunginess of
I hate it in MMA. You telling me to look at this fight card and you want to have this high profile of a fight card and Tony Ferguson walks out with Condom Depot on his shorts. Because that used to be a huge sponsor. They used to be on a lot of fighters. So it just it looks so much cleaner, more professional with the Reebok shorts. Now, I think the Reebok deal is probably not the greatest for the fighters. They can kind of upgrade that, maybe bring in a new sponsor when time's up. But it makes it it looks so much more professional. And when you're signing up with ESPN and all, and having these high profile fights, you need to have that professional look.
See, I don't know, because I like the kind of it's more of a grassroots feel when I watch Bellator. I think that's just the appeal of Bellator compared to the UFC. I think they're two very different. While they appear to be similar in their competitors, the two very different products, and two different very feelings. So I guess you're right. I do like the professionalism of the UFC. It does, like, with these big kind of ticket fights. Makes it feel big leagues. Makes it really feel big leagues.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Whereas the Bellator is a little bit more grassroots, and I like seeing who's like it adds a little bit of character, I find.
But
and I
like that's something for Bellator. I agree, but like I think there's one thing in enjoying that in Bellator, which I even for that I don't particularly like it. I think they should have the Bellator style stuff like the UFC, but in the UFC I don't think you would like it as much. I think it would make the product feel, again, cheaper. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing with Bellator is there's a lot of, like, no offense, but like no name fighters that you see. Like if you watch a card, there's 13 fights. And really, the main event is really going to be the only big name, if they're even big name fighters. Where UFC, really top to bottom, is going to be named fighters.
No, you're right. You're right.
Of course, I'm right.
Of course. All right. Moving on. Let's think ahead to the future. Let's say coronavirus is defeated. We just blast that motherfucker back to out of existence.
Wherever the hell it came from.
Yeah, wherever the hell it came from. You know, and we and it's everything's going back to normal. Do stadiums fill up right away? Or are there gonna be people still kind of like paranoid and just not gonna be wanting to go out into the public right away?
No, my first question to you is, and this is really interesting, and I think it's a good debate. But my question to you is, like, we beat coronavirus 2 weeks later. I hit you up and go, "Hey, you want to go to a football game? It's gonna be packed, sold out." Do you say yes or no? Because I don't know. You say yes. Like, there's part of me is gonna say yes. Part of me, like, I don't know.
Well, in this scenario, you're the one who's asking me, so why would you say no?
No, but like, we turn around and you ask me. I really don't know if I do it. Now, I think I'm a little more, like, I think people would think I potentially could be a germaphobe, so I'm a little more on the side of I'm going to be super cautious with this.
Yeah.
But the general public, I think, is just there's going to be enough people to sell out stadiums. I don't think there's anything to worry about there. You look at, like, we talked about the Jacksonville Beach earlier and how people flooded that. And we're still right in the middle of the goddamn pandemic.
That's a great example. That's a good case study. You know, they're seeing things open and right away it's packed. I think, like, really, I think you're right. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are, I think, just in general, public is not going to fill up as quickly as, like, not going to fill up right away, because there's going to be like maybe 50% of people that are just taking it easy. But in terms of filling a stadium, oh my goodness, there's going to be enough people to go nuts. People are going to be going nuts over, like, there's going to be, think about the signs and the, and just like the things, people are going to be dressing up, and like people are going to be losing their minds. Like the just electric environment.
Yeah, a sport like football too is going to have it really easy because they have less home games. But like baseball, that could be a struggle.
Yeah, I mean,
even if like the crazy people do come back, like you like a lot of teams are going to struggle to fill 81 games.
Oh yeah.
Now it might be a little more, but like you're right, for football, stuff like that, it's going to fill.
People are going to go nuts, and it'll be interesting. Like, I wonder what's going to be the cultural significance of the first game of any sport back with university or with fans in attendance. Yeah. Because just think about, like, the significance, like the cultural significance, the kind of like what it represents in terms of us being kind of halted, like the world being knocked down by this. The whole world basically caught a cold, and now that we're back from this cold, and we're like back stronger than ever, and we're going to be like moving forward into the future. You know, that's what that, like, and all of that's going to be boiled down into the whatever game is the first sport to have fans in attendance again. That's going to be huge.
And the game with the first one people in attendance. My only issue with that be there could be, like, you're sitting in your seat. The guy beside you gets into a coughing fit, which, like, he might not even could have swallowed something wrong, but he gets into a coughing fit. That could be enough with people still on edge to cause a panic.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like, people could freak out. Like, I mean, this is just unprecedented territory here. We've never seen a shutdown like this. We've never as we've said on the program, like they still played sports during World War II. Like we've been at war and we've still had sports going. Now it's just like, and I mean, Spanish flu, yada, yada, all these lists. There's never been a time like this where everything shuts down. And I think part of that is because of just our news media, like our access to information is. So we know a little bit more.
We're smarter now.
We're smarter. We like to think we're smarter.
Well, no, we are, and like we have more access to the information and realize, hey, like we cannot do things anymore because we are at risk of contracting this. Mm-hmm. So like it is like we're smarter about the situation due to the information that we have.
Mm-hmm. So all that said, like we've never seen a situation like this. So whatever happens once this stuff like opens up, like nobody knows what's really going to happen, and it'll be very interesting to kind of follow the situation and look at just like specifically with the sports world. I mean, the sports world is having to make decisions that have never been considered before. Mm-hmm. And things are going to happen once sports comes back in full force. We're going to be seeing, like, I think everybody's we're all taking a break. And then once that break is over, just the potency of sport is going to be like so much more stronger. And we're just going to, we're going to be watching some of the best sports of our lives. Now,
do you think so, like TV, like subscriptions and people buying extra stuff for TV goes up because there's that level of like, like if you didn't get it before this and now you're stuck with no information or no ability to watch it, you're more likely to when holy shit, it's available and now I'm going to get it because I know what it's like to not even have the option. So you think like honestly like TV stuff's going to go up and two, we talk about like a lot of people are going to be like, well, I'm never going to go to a game again, but I'm going to watch. I want to see it on TV all the time.
There's going to be a ton of people like that, and you got to balance that with. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are getting Netflix and Hulu and an HBO subscription and all those
Disney Plus
subscriptions, all of that. Like people who have never paid for the the fictional side of entertainment before, and now they're spending money on that because they just have so much spare time and that's on, and sports isn't on. And
imagine if The Mandalorian, they had filmed it and it was coming out weekly basis during the quarantine.
That would be unreal.
Imagine they would be getting like billions of views.
Yeah,
it'd be ridiculous.
I mean, I'm sure they got a little boost lately.
Yeah, but 100%. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just sorry, anyway, like keep going there.
But like I was saying, just like all those people that are getting TV subscriptions right now for like entertainment stuff, for like movies and television shows. When sports comes back on, maybe they drop a Netflix, they drop a Hulu, and they go back to sports. You know, I think that's really the smart money. Like if you're a sports fan, you kind of getting like you're dropping DAZN during this time. You're maybe picking up Disney Plus in its place, and then you're going to make the switch back again once everything gets rolling.
Speaking of DAZN there too, they're not really like I bought DAZN or DAZN or whatever you want to call it last summer on the like the yearly thing for $200 or whatever, and so like I think they were gonna allow people to leave, but on their monthly subscriptions and come back no problem, but for people for the yearly they weren't offering them refunds or anything. Now I understand that, but it's such like a pain in the ass because I'm not going to use it. I haven't used it at all. Like I can't remember, like I really probably haven't turned it on since the Super Bowl, but like the Bellators and everything, I don't really care to go back and watch an old Bellator because I'm not going to really watch any new Bellators unless it's a really good card. So it's that kind of sucks. I will say though, if you are a sports fan, like the WWE Network, what they're offering, where you can go back and watch any old pay-per-view because like you've said on a past podcast, if you're gonna watch something old, it might as well be staged. Watch the old pay-per-views. Go back and watch the ones from the 2000s from your childhood. It is solid. It's solid viewing.
Yeah, like man, and DAZN, like man, that's a tough spot for them because like. I mean, you definitely have to refund the monthlies. The yearlies, it would be really nice, but at the same time, they're taking a huge hit if they do that.
Yeah.
But
I'm not shocked it just kind of frustrating.
And I mean, like, if you have a DAZN, if you're in Brad's situation, you have a DAZN, like, remember, you got Good Morning Football, you have all the NFL Network shows, which, I mean, this is the week to be watching NFL Network. That's something DAZN is good for. But other than that, yeah, you're kind of screwed if you bought into the yearly. But how are you to know, right? Because it's a deal. It's a deal to get from DAZN, like, for the year.
How was I supposed to know last July that there's going to be like however long without it? And I mean, at the end, I probably still would have bought it anyway because I got my money's worth out of it.
Yeah. So.
And now you want to move on to a little sports hypothetical. And then I think, too, especially once we're in this quarantine and even keep it up coming out of it, I think we kind of tease sports hypotheticals way back. And I want to say episode 6. And now I think maybe one an episode. What do you think about that?
I think that at least one an episode, because next week we seem to come up with stuff to talk about. I guess next week we'll be talking about like the outcome of the NFL draft. So that's something to talk about. Every week it's like, oh my goodness, how are we going to fill at least an hour to an hour and a half? But these hypotheticals, maybe we have a whole podcast coming up with hypotheticals. But at least
or another
one
debate
episode,
too.
Another debate. I think that's good.
But make this a little segment with the hypotheticals. Now, the hypothetical we kind of thought of this week is who would be your new favorite team if you had to, like, we are both, like, I'm a Blue Jays and a New England Patriots fan, and you are a Giants and a New York Mets fan. Now, if we had to switch our favorite teams, who would you go to? Now, you want to go first? Do you want to start with the football teams? And
let's start with the football team. Let's start with the football team. And I think, like, this one, like, I'm conflicted. Like, really, I have a soft spot for the Jets, and I think that would push me towards the Jets. And I mean, it's the staying in New York. And really, I mean, there's some people that are like, there's a Mets-Yankees relationship where you love the one New York team and hate the other team. And I think that's pretty much the same. But I've never really caught on to that. Like, I've always had a soft spot for the Jets. I always love cheering for them when they go up against the Patriots. That's always fun because the Jets are never in a position to beat the Patriots in their division, but they're always in a position to play upset in a lot of ways. I think that's a lot of fun. And I just, like, something attracts me to pathetic teams for some reason. Like, I just love my underdogs, and the Jets would be one of those things. Like, I remember when they had Geno Smith, I was a big fan of Geno Smith for some reason. And that was a lot of fun cheering for Geno Smith on the Jets. I think the Jets are the team. What about you, Brad? What do you think?
I will say, though, if you became a Jets fan, like, if you were a Jets fan, I remember, like, story time for it. When we first met on Residence, you were wearing a Giants hat, and I thought to myself as a Patriots fan, can I really be friends with this kid? And I will tell you, if you were wearing a Jets hat, we wouldn't be. Because I cannot stand the Jets. Now, for me, though, if I had to pick another favorite team, I think, like, honestly, before the Tom Brady news, I would have been leaning Tampa Bay. I've always kind of had a soft spot for Tampa Bay. I really like their jerseys, their logo, and everything. And now that Tom Brady's there, it's such an easy pick. I'm going to Tampa Bay. Like, that would be my favorite team if I had to leave the Pats. Like, that's who I'd pick. It's Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's fair. And
I mean, I would be buying that Brady creamsicle jersey so quick.
Well, I mean, there's lots of former Patriots fans that have made the switch that you just kind of teased. So
that is only if I couldn't be a Pats fan.
I know you. So. But there's a lot of Patriots fans that are saying, "Well, now I got to make the switch."
Yeah. So that's what makes it really easy. This segment really easy for me.
And it was really easy for me. So let's go to the MLB. Brad, if your Blue Jays just were no more, they just banned Canadian teams from the league and it became American only, who would you be?
If I couldn't cheer for the Blue Jays anymore, and this is going to be controversial for some people, like, you were chirping me before we got on. I would stay in the division, and I would cheer for the Boston Red Sox.
Oh my! Oh my God! He stays in the division.
I've always had a soft spot for the Red Sox. Like, growing up, I always had, like, the David Ortizes, the Manny Ramirez, and like, I always really liked those players. I've always kind of like in the 2013, I cheered for the Red Sox. Was it 2018 they won? I was cheering for them in the World Series. And especially being a Patriots fan, there's that kind of Boston area connection where the Patriots and the Red Sox interact. So I've seen a lot of that. So I think that's where I'd go. I because of the soft spot there. I know. Like you're gonna say you're staying in the division.
I know.
But that's where I'd go. That's where I'd go.
You're a traitor. You just, oh my goodness. Okay, me, if the Mets were to be no longer, I would go to the team that was the original Mets, the San Francisco Giants. And I love their park, their ballpark with the bay right there. You got the people in the kayakers like going after the baseball. I would love to get in the kayak with a Giants jersey on and just go crazy trying to get baseballs in the kayak and all that. And and it's San Francisco. You know, I would just love to take a road trip to San Francisco. Scott McKenzie playing like, "Are you going to San Fran?" Cross the Golden State Bridge, just chilling in the car. You know, San Francisco is like the city is. I would love to take a pilgrimage there one day. It's one of the coolest cities in the United States. You got that windy road. You got you got that giant pyramid building. Like it's just a crazy city. Huge homeless population now. Like it's kind of going to shit these days, but that's a subject for another day. But still, cool city, cool team, and the original Mets. Like the Giants were in New York.
Yeah. That makes an easy pick for you. That's which I didn't know that until you told me before we started this episode.
Like I wouldn't be a Mets fan if my grandpa wasn't a Giants fan, because when the Giants left, he was like, "Well, I'm not going to cheer for the Yankees, so I'm not going to cheer for anybody in baseball. I'm just going to watch the games and not cheer." And then a few years later, the Mets got announced, and he's like, "I can finally have a team again."
Imagine if he started cheering for baseball a little bit later, and he was a Yankees fan, and you could have actually had happy sports memories.
Yeah, but I'd be an asshole. So
yeah, again, too, if you wore a Yankees hat, I wouldn't be friends with you either.
And yet you say the Red Sox.
Yeah. Okay. Every time the Red Sox and Yankees play, I want the Red Sox to kill them. I cannot stand the Yankees. So yeah, like that's essentially just New York teams I just can't stand, Chris, which makes our friendship very difficult sometimes.
Yeah, because the New York teams got you numbered, baby. Got Toronto and the Patriots number.
Yeah, well, it's a tough time sometimes.
Yeah. So
yeah, like because like your teams have kind of like. The R.A. Dickey trade, real tough for the Jays. Those two Super Bowls, the Giants and Patriots, real tough.
Yeah. It's just a rough time. And I remember the first time I met you, and you had the Patriots hat on. I was like, man, like I'm just gonna roast this kid. I'm just gonna straight roast this kid. And there was another guy because we were chilling in this room with like pool tables and stuff. And this guy, there was two of you. You had two guys with Patriots hats. And I was like, man, this is a Patriots crowd. Glad I brought my Giants.
Who's the other guy? I don't remember.
That guy with the beard. One of the engineers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. That was always hammered. He was always hammered.
Yeah, shout out to that guy.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on into Mascot Madness. So we got the final four here. If you guys haven't seen this yet, we've been doing a cage fight, hypothetical cage fights with NCAA mascots to make up for March Madness being canceled. So we have in the final four, we have the Villanova's Will D. Cat versus the San Diego State Aztec Warrior. And
wait, Chris, before we get into this too, for the last couple of episodes, if you guys haven't, we've kind of used that random wheel spinner. We've decided this week, because it's kind of 50-50 and we're in the final four and it's been really just chalk picks so far. We're going to talk it out and decide who wins.
We're going to decide who wins. So Will the Cat versus the Aztec State Warrior, or from the San Diego State Aztec Warrior versus, and then in the other round, we have St. Mary's Gale. So that's like an Irish Warrior versus the Rutgers Scarlet Knight. So let's start with Will the Cat versus the Aztec Warrior. Now, the Aztec Warrior has a javelin. The Wildy Cat has teeth and, like, claws and stuff. What are you thinking?
I mean, my gut's the Aztec Warrior. I think like the Warriors going to beat the Wildcats. The Wildcats haven't fared so far in this bracket because we found out very quickly most NCAA teams are named after a Wildcat. I think the Aztec Warrior takes that one here.
Yeah, I think like the Aztec Warrior, like there was like a kind of like soldier in the Aztec like army called the Jaguar. And if you get the name Jaguar, you could probably fuck a Wildcat up pretty well. Like, and that's what I'm thinking. So definitely San Diego State Aztec Warrior is going into the final round.
Let's go.
All right. So next round we have the St. Mary's Gale. So that's a guy in a kilt with a sword, essentially, versus the Rutgers Scarlet Knight.
I mean, the Scarlet Knight.
I think so. Like, I mean, armor is going to be the name of the game, right? So, because these both guys are going to have swords or something like that. And the Gale is, I mean, a kilt. They look kind of cool, but it's not great armor. No. Not great armor at all. So I think the Scarlet Knight is going to take that one very easily. So next, we're moving into
the finals, baby. Let's go.
The championship. Let's go. So we got the San Diego State Aztec Warrior versus the Rutgers Scarlet Knight.
This is a tough one. If I had to, if my gut here, I think I'm going with the Scarlet Knight again.
Yeah, I think the armor goes a long way.
Because we on the same page for this?
Yeah, because I mean, like, if you're an Aztec Warrior, like, you probably don't even have a shirt on.
True.
Much less like some armor. So I mean, like.
So the Scarlet Knight.
I think the Scarlet Knight takes it. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The #1 mascot in the NCAA 2020. Mascot Madness. He killed all the rest in a cage fight. It was a huge battle. It's the Rutgers Scarlet Knight. So if you're from Rutgers University, congratulations. Like, have some pride because you have the most badass mascot in all of the NCAA. I'm glad we decided that. We settled that.
Yes. And we made it through the full bracket. So that's how this quarantine's going for the boys.
Yeah. And maybe, I mean, I feel like this is something we do next year as well. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah,
it'd be kind of fun because it was a fun little thing. And now that's pretty much all she wrote for today's episode of the podcast.
I will say last week we put out a challenge that if you remember who our favorite NASCAR driver is, who we've said multiple times on this podcast, send us an email at biggametalk@gmail.com. You get $5. It's free $5 if you're a regular listener. So that challenge is still on. And I mean, send us an email. Let us know what you thought of the Mascot Madness. Let us know how you're dealing with this sports quarantine. Yeah. Let us know, let us know what you think of our stuff. Comment on either the podcast, the YouTube. Send us an email.
Yeah, biggametalk@gmail.com. It's real easy. Everyone knows how to send an email, unless you're like a monkey. Yeah, and I don't think there are many monkeys listening.
Hit the DMs. We're on Instagram, the same, Big Game Talk. Follow us on there. Turn on post notifications. We'll see we post whenever we post a new video or the podcast. We'll share it there. And
my camera's dead, so I think this is time.
Yeah, this is time. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week.